Hello and welcome to IronAge Media. Today we'll be trying something new. I'm calling this Fast Finds. This will just be very brief reviews of works that you may not have heard of, especially being compared to more popular works. Today's topic is Wraithbound by Tim Akers. It is a fantasy novel. It follows a young man, Ray Calthanis, who is presented with a mystery by his family. He goes forth and learns to become a binder, which is this world's equivalent of a mage, as there is a very concrete magic system here, and mages have to essentially weave these various elements into their own souls in order to gain the abilities that are granted to those various magical entities. So, this is a very, I would say, this is a world that is very thought out in the sense that you don't just have like random wizards wandering around. You actually have industrial uses for magic at times, which I always like to see. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to say what we're really comparing this to, or what I personally think of whenever I was reading this, which would be a lot of the Brandon Sanderson style magic systems, which have become very popular lately. And for good reason. I enjoyed, for example, the Mistborn series, but this is probably not, I would say, not as technical as Mistborn. And furthermore, this book moves much, much faster than anything that I've seen from Sanderson so far. So that is really what that's the big thing that I liked about this was a well thought out world, an interesting magic system that doesn't get bogged down like a lot of the more traditional fantasy. That being said, the other I would say that this does not compare well to more D&D-esque worlds. This is a very much a unique magic system with a unique world and its own set of rules. You spend a lot of time learning about that, but it's all done, in my opinion, very well through action of the characters and each character or each moment encountering these things rather than just running into them and then having somebody lord them. The other major thing that I really liked about this is that it opens with a big mystery for the family. And that mystery is what carries the plot forward. Things don't get too distracted, too off in the weeds over other side issues or anything like that. It's very much focused on resolving the mystery that is presented early in the book. It's not going to be something where I don't know how many books are planned for this series, but you get to the end of this book and that there is a satisfying conclusion, in my opinion. It leaves obviously plenty of room for the series to grow, but there is a great deal of interest there. Now, some things that I was not as fond of mainly revolved, I would say, all around the characters, which is that Ray Thanis is a young man who is kind of going through a more typical coming of age sort of story. Now, as such, he can sometimes be a bit of an idiot. And that is, I mean, that's perfectly consistent with his character. Um, and it makes perfect sense within the plot and everything else. But it sometimes is a little bit hard. It was harder for me to get as invested with what he was doing because, like, just being stubborn, it was definitely something that drove him forwards. And I think that's fine as a character trait, but it just didn't click with me as much. The other thing I would say about the characters is that some of the later characters that you meet that help kind of the initial group that is formed early on in the book are are very interesting. They're almost more interesting, not almost, they are more interesting than that initial group, and it sort of makes you want to know more about them rather than invest quite as much in the core group that starts out. That also comes in a little bit towards the end. The core group, it seems like it may have been gotten a little bit redundant towards the end. The last, I would say, quarter of the book, there were a time or two where the character voices almost got too similar, and I couldn't tell which support character was talking to Ray without having to go back and check um, dialogue tags, which, that's not the end of the world, but I do wonder if there's not something that is being planned in later series with those. I assume that there's something being planned for them. But in that moment, there were a few times where I kind of felt like there was a little bit of bogging down on things. And that's the only place. And I think the only reason why I really noticed it is that the rest of the book moved so swiftly from one point to the next. And overall, this is a quick read. At least it was for me, and I say that not because of the page count, but because I picked it up and I had trouble putting it back down. So overall, a huge recommendation to this. I encourage everybody to check it out if you enjoy Magic systems, but you also aren't necessarily in love with the huge door stoppers that you're not going to have one door stopper, but like a half dozen to get through before you wrap up that initial mystery. There's a lot of satisfying fantasy here, and I really encourage you to check out Wraithbound by Tim Akers. It's being published by Vane Books. You can find it on Amazon or just about anywhere that books are sold normally. So, with that said, we will be doing more fast finds. If you like the format of these and generally what I covered here, let me know if you think that I should be adding some more material. I don't know, you think I'm missing something. Also, please let me know. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you later.